and this was due to an increase in operating expenditures for more street projects in fiscal year 2018. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Mr. Melton?
Thank you, Mayor. Comment was made from, I believe it's slide 3, where the total fund balance in general fund. I'm going to paraphrase, so please forgive me. The statement was made that that increase of 1.9, or that percentage, was because funded transportation projects weren't executed yet. Is it my understanding correct that that's our plan all along, that that money was received from Erickson to be spent on funding transportation projects, and the intent is to fund a portion of McKee Road? We just haven't spent that money yet.
Yes,
is that correct?
That's
okay.
correct.
I just wanted to make that statement out loud, because
thank you.
To the uneducated attendee, they may think, well, you guys have money, and you know you have roads to improve, you got the money, why aren't you doing it? That money is allocated and restricted for a specific purpose that hasn't been spent yet.
That's exactly right, and yet Public Works did go up.
Right.
So that's a valid point. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, will we have staff presentation next? Or?
No, it's, why don't we go ahead and do that? Yeah. So I go to 18, go to page 18. Chris was going to do a very lengthy presentation that would have been just.
But we can get it all down to one slide, huh?
So I think the biggest takeaway from my perspective is on this sheet, because the auditor, thank you for the job y'all did. He talked about what's reserved for state statute. You know, that big number, that's not totally available to us. You got to take off like 1.5. It's available for state statute. And then the available fund balance is almost $10 million. And that represents 45%. So if you went on the state website, you could say, well, compare us to Mooresville, and we could see, and it would be an apples to apples comparison. But one of the things that our old policy of 34% had, the language said unassigned fund balance, and that was something you guys were really concerned about, is like, what's actually free to spend? Because in that available fund balances are things like Powell bill, there's things like stormwater, things that are not totally available to use whatever you want to, but what's unassigned and available for anything is $7.5 million, which is 34%, and ironically, that's just above that old policy that we used to have. So I wanted to point that out real quick. And then, go to the next slide, Lori, please. So here's some of this restricted money. So one of the things that's important, what he gave us was a snapshot of June 30th. So after June 30th, we were right in the middle of a paving project. So there's Powell bill money that's been spent now, that's been spent. As you know, as we sit here today, it's been spent. And then there's some state assets, and that's where Chris has highlighted some of the expenditures that have occurred or assigned fund balance, and that's street resurfacing. We have fees in lieu of. Now that thing's turned into a trickle, because Chris, that's what we built. Cruz Road with $1 million of fees in lieu of. That is now essentially gone to a trickle, because we just don't have the subdivisions we used to have. And of course, stormwater, which we use for stormwater projects. I want to see if there's anything else. Go to the next slide, please. So in the tourism, you guys, you know, that's an interest of ours. That's $1.2 million in fund balance. That increased by $232,000. We're seeing growth of $90,000 in each one of these. $90,000 in growth. And here's the only commitments we have. We have $175,000 in debt that's going to be gone off the books after 2021, and that's for the roof there at the community center, which we put on a slate roof. And then the Sportsplex, the last payment for the Sportsplex will be next fiscal year. So That's the tourism fund. It just shows, and I think what you guys may start thinking about, that thing's gonna really start growing. It grows on its own. You know, recession can hit, but gosh, these hotel, or particularly restaurants, keep coming in. I think the board to think about what's the next big thing, right? I mean, the community center was a big thing. Is there a big thing? Because after the sportsplex rolls off, you may see growth of $500,000 a year in this fund. You know, that's all. You could carry a lot of debt with something like that if you chose to carry debt.
But that would be restricted to certain expenditures.
That's exactly right.
We need
Tourism.
special events at Purser Halsey Park. Okay? That's it. It qualifies.
What's the next thing? Next slide. Here's some of the projects in the CIP. So you guys have a CIP fund, and here's what's in it. You have a final payment for fire engine number 22, Rice Road Park, which we're in the process. We've committed $260,000 to the multi-use path on Sam Newell Road. The sidewalk construction, we've paid some of that out. Remember, this is a snapshot of June 30th, but that's the money that Bill Brawley got us to do sidewalk improvements. And then there is $600,000 in future transportation projects, and this was about $300,000 was left over from the South Trade Street work. And then the next phase or the last phase we did of McKee Road, which was on, you know, the McKee Road that's new on the side of John Street over there by Levine campus. So does anybody have any questions? I mean, the good news is the town's in good financial shape and strong economy. Oh, sorry about that. Strong economy. Been away from it. Did anybody hear what I said?
Can you repeat everything you said?
So does anybody have any questions about the audit?
Mr. Melton?
I don't have a question, but I'd like to make a statement based upon your statement, the town being in a good financial position, and I think credit is due to Hazen and his staff. Years and years of planning, executing the plan. We mentioned items that aren't and are on our CIP. I think the town manager deserves a nice pat on the back and a thank you for developing those plans, executing those plans. I think we're in the position we are because you do a good job.
Thank you very much. You know, it's a team effort. Everybody, it's a team effort. Everybody knows that.
It's all about a plan. Execute the plan.
Okay, and Mr. Manager, I hope that the answer to this is no, but the comprehensive annual financial report is not going to be discussed?
No, we won't. It is up there, but there's no need to discuss that.
Good. Okay, any other additional questions regarding the audit presentations? Okay, seeing none. The next item is a budget report. Mr. Manager?
Yes, the only thing I would say is revenues will start to come in more significant rate because most folks don't pay their property taxes until the end of December, the 1st of January. All of road revenues are coming in well, and our expenditures are in line, and I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
All right. Seeing no questions, next item, 12E, is consider town response letter regarding U 4713A / McKee Road Segment A.
Thank you,
Susan, you're going to
Mayor.
present this, okay?
Yes, I am, actually only for another couple of months. You know, I'm always happy to be standing before you to talk about transportation projects, but probably by February, a new transportation planner will be taking over these presentations. So I hope you're as tough on her as you've been on me. That's what makes this process work. But for now, this is, I guess sometime this summer, the board requested that these response letters, can you just go to the letter? These response letters that staff sends to NCDOT you would like to see before it gets mailed out. I am glad that you want to be involved this early in this process that takes staff years. Kind of different for me. I'm not asking you for money tonight, so yay. But in the future, as you know, all the NCDOT projects do have a town cost if we want better bicycle and pedestrian facilities. So part of the items in this letter do have a cost, future cost associated with them. For example, number one, the sidewalk on the northwest corner should be 10-foot multi-use path. Well, 30% of the cost of that will be borne by us for that. So I'm not going to go through the entire letter. It's in your packet, but I would be happy to answer any clarifying questions you have on the draft letter. The letter was taken to the TAC. They added one comment, which is included, and if you have additional comments you want added to the letter, we can do that.
Any questions or comments? I did have one question. There was a survey that was sent to us probably 6 weeks ago from the neighborhood. I can't remember the name of it.
Next door neighbor?
No, that's not the neighborhood. Matthews Plantation, they along McKee Road. And there were two entrances that are on the existing plan that DOT provided. And they went through and did a survey within the neighborhood. And they had a significant percentage. I'm thinking it was somewhere around 90%.
It was about half of the neighborhood responded to that survey
Okay.
that the HOA did.
And I think it looked to me like it was kind of split 50-50 for one or two. You could trend down those that were near the second entrance that lived down that way, said no, they didn't want it. And then the ones in the front did. It looked like it was split up depending upon where you lived.
Yeah, interesting. The way that the NCDOT interpreted the survey results was when you look at one connection at Biltmore Forest or one connection at, is it Holly Point is the next one?
Yeah.
Or both connected, more people responded favorably to both of them connected. But if you tally up the one connection, those two together, people favored one entrance as opposed to two, but they were split on which entrance to be connected. And anecdotally, on one of the entrances, the neighbor on one side of the street says, I bought my house here because I can't wait for this road to be connected. And the one on the other side of the street said, I can't sell my house because you're connecting the road. So, I mean, either you split among both entrances. And there's a sign at both dead ends that says this street may be connected in the future.
Right.
And it's on every plat. So staff believes it's in the best interest of the neighborhood to be both entrances be connected and not one street bear the burden.
Okay.
And that's been the design from the whole time,
Yeah.
the design from the whole time has been two entrances.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Urban?
Susan, I know NCDOT doesn't like trees and doesn't like plantings and stuff like that because someone has to maintain it. But on this section of road, it really has an interesting cross-section to it. I mean, it's not highway by any stretch of imagination, and it's built upon with houses on both sides for the most part, except for the potential park on the corner. And you made a mention here, what measures are being taken to preserve the existing trees and the berm along the edge of the neighborhoods. Has there ever been any thought to a street tree type situation, or DOT just completely will go altogether?
I'm not certain, and maybe CJ knows, that tree plantings are included in DOT budgets for projects. One project?
One tree.
One tree.
Yeah.
Have you known of any projects to have a landscape budget? I know in other municipalities, a certain percentage of the project needed to go to landscaping and beautification, which would be great. So typically, the town has borne the cost of replanting.
It just seems that it's a game of offsets and compromises. You grow, so you lose tree canopy, but there are so many areas because we did the street tree the street trees in the ordinance several years ago, so all new developments have them. We went back retroactively and asked neighborhoods to put them in. It seems to me a lost leader is road work development because now you're burying power lines and stuff like that. That's a simple thing to kind of create a great streetscape and landscaping aspect of it, and it's probably not something that's at all on NCDOT's radar, but to me, it's probably a simple combination of town support and NCDOT to get a very long-lasting effect very quickly.
Is that an item you would like to?
I would like that question raised. Yes,
Can
because right now That was farmland. That's Finch, yeah. Fincher property along there. And basically, you can imagine if you had trees on both sides now, 20, 30 years later, the kind of canopy you'd have, the experience of that road completely would change from that aspect of it. But when this is built without any trees or anything like that, it's really going to be perceived as a high-speed corridor and not something that's aesthetically pleasing.
So to ask a clarifying question to this, it would be number 11. The section of the road is not a curb and gutter section. Usually what we see is a curb and gutter section with an 8-foot planing strip, and that's where the tree goes. This is a ditch section. So in between the travel lanes and the sidewalk is for stormwater conveyance.
Yep.
So would you be envisioning the trees be on the back side of the sidewalk in this scenario?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good idea.
Mr. Higdon?
Susan, do you have a copy of the survey that you spoke of, or do you have the results of it, of the neighborhood survey? Because I've had a couple of constituents ask me about, I mentioned there was a survey, and that I believe you told me that the majority favored both entrances, but I'd like to be able to quote actual numbers or whatever. Okay.
Are there any privacy issues, CJ, with that because people put in their addresses?
I just want to know what the results were. I don't even care if you send me the address.
And please forward that to the whole board, CJ.
Yeah, I would say send it to the whole board, and as far as I'm concerned, I just want to know what the results were, so I can tell, when people ask me, I can say, hey, a majority voted in your neighborhood for this configuration. It'd be helpful.
Yeah, I did have a discussion. The chair of the Transportation Advisory Committee is in that neighborhood, and so he disagreed that the majority voted for 2 entrances. He says the majority voted for 1 entrance.
That's why.
So just be just to be aware of that when you're looking at it, that it could look like 2 entrances was the majority, but maybe 1
Isn't
entrance.
it a black and white answer? I mean.
No, it's not. You'll look at the data.
Yeah,
It's
you need to
not-
look at the data.
It's not structured very well. I mean,
Well,
it's as good as you can do it, but.
and I applaud the HOA for taking the initiative. I
Yeah.
don't know if the DOT asked them to do it, or it was a surprise to me when we got the results, but I was very glad to see that, and such a high response rate as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, CJ.
Okay, any other comments? All right. Thank you, Susan.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next item is the mayor's report. Just this week, we've got the MTC meeting. The manager will be attending that. I have the CRTPO meeting at the same location right after that. The manager and I will be attending the League of Advocacy Goals Conference on Thursday. And in the consent agenda, I'll be the voting member. We stated that today. Let's see, the Women's Club Tea is coming up this Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you haven't gotten your tickets, it's probably too late. But just for your information. Then we've got, I've got my meet with the mayor Saturday morning at 8 at Mickey's Restaurant. And then Hometown Holidays is Saturday afternoon from 3 to 6. And we'll be lighting the tree out in front of the town hall, among many other things that are going on that afternoon. So that's all I got. Mr. Manager?
Nothing to add, Mr. Mayor.
May I bring up 2 items for the manager's report?
That's okay, he can
Go ahead.
finish it.
I just got 2 quick items, and I asked CJ to stay. Looked like he was going to leave. It was my fault. The phase 2 of the South Trade Street widening project, where it comes into Pleasant Plains, it based upon the information we received, it's on hold, or they've delayed it till weather warms up. But it looks like they've abandoned it at times, and it doesn't look like Matthews standards at times. It looks like it's been abandoned. Is it possible for us to reach out to the state or to the contractor and let them know that we expect that construction site, while no activity is going on, that it'll be kept up and maintained in a neat, orderly? There are barrels strewn everywhere, some get knocked over, the appearance is bad. If you can picture it in your mind's eye, it looks like a construction project that's been abandoned.
Looks like a minefield.
Yeah, it looks, it's not how I would want my town to look if I were in charge of that project.
Can you reach out to them, CJ? Okay.
Second, this is an item I brought up during our last department head meeting, and I don't know that the department head, Corey, understood what I was asking or talking about. The fitness classes that are happening in Stumptown Park, I understand that that individual or organization is paying a rental fee for that park. While I agree with that, I don't agree with them doing it out of the goodness of their heart. I gotta believe they're charging for that. Can we audit and make sure that those fitness classes, that he's not pocketing money or she's not pocketing money off of giving those classes?
I can confirm what they charge.
Okay, because they're not doing it because they're trying to get into heaven. They're making money with those fitness classes.
Why is that a concern?
Why is that a concern?
Because it's a public park, and it's our ordinance that a for-profit organization can't hold a for-profit event on town-owned property without getting authorization from the board of directors, similar to us approving the Bollywood event earlier tonight.
So, Corey, there could be an exception to that in theory if the activity is being registered through you and people register through you guys, and so y'all pay the instructor and the participants pay the community center. Is that right?
Right. I guess that's another way that we have to have a program, in the park.
But that's not the way they're doing it now, is it?
I don't know.
No.
Okay, we'll check into that.
Mr. Miller, you have something for the manager?
No, I actually have something for CJ and Susan, just asking if there's any new information on the Sam Newell issue.
There was a November board meeting, and I'll be sending out my monthly request for updates on Friday, so hopefully next week
Okay.
we'll hear something. I'd asked where it was ranked for the November meeting, and I didn't receive a response.
I mean, we've got crosses up there. It's a direct drop-off. They don't stock yellow arrows. And if you go up and down Weddington Road, just as a comparison, there are guardrails on the insides of curves on Weddington Road, inside, where it's nothing but a lawn, a sidewalk, and a fence. And we can't get a guardrail or a couple yellow arrows, directional arrows, where people have died and gone straight down.
I think the chevrons are up, though. The yellow arrows are up. It's the guardrail that we've been waiting on an answer from.
You sure that the chevrons are up? Because I drove by there and I didn't think I saw
I
them.
recently went by there, and I thought I saw the chevrons there.
I'll double check.
Field trip.
I'll double
Okay.
check on the chevrons, but
All right.
I don't know. Just seems awfully bureaucratic.
It is, I can tell you that.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Manager?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, attorney's report?
The only thing I have is the excitement of the holiday season and our production at the community center of the Nutcracker. My grandson plays a mouse in that production, and he may be the only boy in the whole production. I'm not sure, but I just want to applaud my grandson, one of my grandsons, for being in the Nutcracker, and they planned the first weekend was last weekend, and this next weekend is in. So I haven't seen it yet. I'll see it this Sunday, but he's the greatest mouse in the world. I think he's on stage 3 minutes.
And Mac is back.
And Mac is back.
And you're not going to tell us the exciting news on Saturday?
On Saturday?
Yeah, that happened on Saturday,
What's that? Oh, this past Saturday.
this past Saturday.
There wasn't any news.
There was a little football game, I think.
Yeah. Okay,
One quick
Corey.
piece of information. You guys are going to receive electronic and paper invitations also, but on December 12th, here in this room, we're going to have a presentation by a firm we're working with that looked at the extension of 4 Mile Creek Greenway from where it terminates on Brenham Lane all the way to Ray Road. And that's going to be December 12th from 6 to 7:30, right here.
okay, thank you. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Melton, do we have a second? seconded by Mr. Query. All those in favor, all those opposed, motion carries unanimously. We're adjourned.
All right.